Welcome to a Farmer's Breakfast Show right here from County 034. And today we have a very interesting discussion that we're going to have. Discussions that we have initiated in terms of climate smart agriculture, what you need to do. And as you know, what I always talk about and make sure that you as a farmer, as a smallholder farmer, as a regular farmer, as a large-scale farmer also, is to be able to fix your soil. That is where it begins. They say money is in the soil. So if money is in the soil, then we have to fix it. I have guests with me today, and we're going to talk about so much more. And I will allow my guests to introduce themselves.
Thank you. James Fremantle. I'm the Managing Director of Omnia International.
Thank you. My name is Rainer Stein. I'm the GM for Omnia East Africa.
Welcome to County 034.
Thanks for having me.
Yes. First of all, I just want to know, James. Who is James?
Sure. So I've been with Omnia coming up 8 years now, based in Australia. So I look after the biological and biostimulants arm of the business, which is based out of Australia. So I'm based there. I come from a background of farming. My family's got small farming interests in Australia. And I've always had a passion, I suppose, for soil health and plant nutrition. And that's why I joined Omnia and really enjoyed the journey so far.
Very interesting. As I was looking, I saw that you are an agronomist.
Yeah.
I'll ask you why. Right. Yes, introduction, just a brief introduction.
So my name is Rainer. For those of you who struggle with pronouncing Rainer, you can call me Kifaru as well. So I'm a South African, but I've lived in East Africa for about 6 years now, and every day, every week I learn something new. Also come from a farming background and thoroughly enjoying being on the show. Thanks.
Okay, welcome. For those who are following us, follow us on Farmers on all our social media handles, as well as Omnia East Africa. Remember, Omnia East Africa, you connect, you learn, grow, and win. We'll be having some goodies later on this week, just to share with you what of this product that you're supposed to be doing and going out to see. Remember, if you have any questions about your soil, today we're not talking about soil testing. We're only talking to farmers who've tested their soil. So let us know. You can share the screenshot of your soil test results, and we'll have someone to respond to you in terms of what you need. James, why did you choose agriculture?
Yeah, it's a great question, Noah. My family's always been involved in agriculture, so some have always been farming interests in Oz, and often in areas that have challenging soil conditions, and obviously in Australia we really struggle with that soil fertility. So it's always been since a young boy that I loved agriculture, and then into university I got to do that environmental science, agronomy type stream, and I just kept growing my passion, and from that, the soil and nutrition, my real passion, and growing from.
Very interesting. In Kenya, agriculture is not regarded as something that you can actually really talk about. I remember when I was talking to some agronomists, they say that when they're in campus, their dust scores are normally different from the other students. And so as you are talking about agriculture in Australia, what do you see is the difference between what is happening there and what is happening in Africa?
I think from what I've seen now, that the big difference in Australia is that they're focused heavily on improving soil. So Australian soils are very, very old, but they've also shown fertility and traditional farming methods that meant a lot of those soils have been degraded. So there's been a very, very big push in Australia to improve soil health. Farming practices, looking at new products to improve soil health from a physical and now biological aspect of the soil. In parts of Africa I see that starting to happen, and maybe it needs to happen faster because let's say everything, as you said, starts with the soil.
Yes.
A healthy plant comes from a healthy soil. So I'd say the big difference is just that real focus on that soil structure.
So what triggered this? Triggered this need for testing and checking the soil and correcting it?
I think people saw that you can't make any more farming land, farming land in Oz, because you can't make it more land. Very hard to on it now. There's a big push to better yields.
You've been here for you've been here for
farm in Africa is very interesting.
Beetroot is a highly nutritious root vegetable. The beetroot is the top proportion of a beet plant. It is one of the many varieties of the genus Beta vulgaris, all of which are mostly grown for their edible taproots and leaves. Beetroot is a root crop that takes approximately 3 to 4 months to mature. Beetroot is a fairly easy crop to grow as long as the soil is well cultivated prior to planting. Beetroots do not enjoy wet, boggy or shady soils. Beetroot can be sown in trays and transplanted when the seedlings have 2 true leaves. Plant in full sun, space seedlings 10 to 15 centimeters apart, and rows 20 centimeters to 30 centimeters apart so they have room to grow. Beetroots are also ideal for containers or raised beds. Beetroots will happily thrive in small areas as long as there's at least 20 centimeters depth of soil. Beetroot has been used not only for food but also for treatment for numerous conditions.
Agriculture is the art and science of cultivating the soil, growing crops, and raising livestock. Agriculture provides most of the world's food and fabrics. It is not only a source of food and income, but also creates employment opportunities for many people in the world. Over 1 billion people worldwide work in agriculture, generating 2.4 trillion for the global economy. The global impact of farming on the environment is revealed that 40% of the Earth's land is now given over to agriculture. Agricultural development is one of the most powerful tools to end extreme poverty, boost shared prosperity, and feed a projected 9.7 billion people by 2050. And we, the Our Farmers Media, roll the carpet for you as we welcome you to our thrilling farm visits to different farmers that educate and inspire you in different sectors in agriculture. Catch us also on our shows on all our social media platforms as we bring you educative and informative information that will help you learn and guide you on your agriculture journey to success. Our farmers attain knowledge and grow profits.
Mahindi yamekuwa chakula kikuu katika sehemu nyingi za ulimwengu na jumla ya uzalishaji wa mahindi kuliko ile ya ngano au mchele. Mbali na kuwa mahindi ni chakula, pia hutumiwa kutengeneza ethanoli, chakula cha wanyama na bidhaa zingine. Kunayo mahindi ya gume, mahindi ya ganda, yaani popcorn, mahindi ya unga na mahindi matamu. Mahindi yanalimwa sana kote ulimwenguni na kiwango kikubwa cha mahindi hutolewa kila mwaka kuliko nafaka nyingine yoyote. Shamba la mahindi linaweza kutayarishwa kwa kutumia njia za kawaida au za kilimo cha uhifadhi. Kilimo cha kuhifadhi ni pamoja na kunyunyizia dawa za kuulia wadudu zilizopendekezwa na wataalamu wa kilimo. Unaweza kutumia trekta au njia ya mikono kufanya kilimo cha mahindi. Ni muhimu kuandaa ardhi mapema ya kutosha kuruhusu magugu kukauka na kuoza kabla ya kupanda.
A nursery bed is a small area of a yard or garden that's used for growing certain selected plants. The goal of a nursery bed is to grow young plants to a certain size at which they can be easily transplanted. A nursery bed can also be used to evaluate plants to see if they are worthy of planting in the larger garden, to observe their growth, habit and color, or watch them for pests and diseases. A nursery bed is especially helpful for vegetable gardeners practicing succession in planting, in which a steady supply of fresh produce is maintained.
Melon is a trailing vine in the gourd family. The word melon can refer to either the plant or specifically to the fruit. Watermelon is a type of melon that is sweet and refreshing fruit. Watermelons can either be grown on home gardens for small-scale farmers or large-scale depending on the market demand. You can either transplant or plant watermelon seeds directly. For best performance, plant watermelons in hot, sunny locations with loose, fertile, well-drained soil that is rich in organic matter. It is best to plant watermelons on raised rows and ensure that the soil pH is between 6.0 to 6.8. On average, it takes around 3 months for a watermelon to grow from seed to mature fruit, with smaller varieties having shorter growing times than larger varieties of watermelon. Watermelon growing, if done rationally and on a scalable basis, can be a good source of income.
what we're doing now.
Welcome back to a Farmer's Breakfast Show right here as we were talking about soil tests and soil improvement. And Jeremy, as we talked about right now, as we were discussing about soil tests and what you're seeing happening in Africa right now, I asked the question and I wanted you just to clarify that on that. We are seeing a lot of, I don't know if it's a hype in soil testing, because why I'm talking about a hype is because farmers are being told yes to test their soils, but they're not being told to correct them. So they're testing the soils to feed the crops rather than correcting. Basically, like for example, somebody would be taking medicine to cure a sickness but not to improve their health. How can we bridge that disconnect?
I think that's a very good question now, because most farmers run to testing their soils, and very little companies and people apply the technical knowledge on how to do that. What's your first steps? And that's where we as Omnia come in with our technical field staff to support these farmers, irrespective of our products, to make sure that we help them and advise them on how to take the next step in doing so.
Okay, so back to you, James. Now that you've mentioned that Australia has been doing this, now what is the interest with Kenya and Africa in general? Why would Omnia come and invest in terms of doing this here, apart from the business angle? Why is this important?
Yeah, good question. Outside of the business angle, it's a lot of the work we're doing in Australia. I can see benefits coming into East Africa. Australia's a big export market. We make a lot of high value products that we export around the world. I see Kenya in the same thing. You've got some great potential here. I think the whole of Africa's got great potential. It's about getting that soil structure, soil health back to a nice balance where it's sustainable. And the big thing for us, which I see in Africa happening, is that trend. You want to leave the soil almost in a better state to pass on to the next generation. So yeah, I see we're doing a lot of work in Australia with Omnia in that, and I see that a huge opportunity to really help farmers in Kenya and the whole of East Africa around making sure that soil, and see it as an asset, that soil asset is being looked after and passed on to the next generation in a good state.
So now the world is changing in terms of climate. The climate is changing. Farmers are being blamed to some extent in contributing to the carbon emissions. As we talk to farmers and as you interact with farmers as the agents, some of the agents that you have on the ground, what are farmers complaining about right now?
So farmers, I think one of the key factors is availability and good technical advice is what farmers really want. We've often seen big companies come in and just push product for the sake of being a business, but we really just in this market to become a partner with a farmer. The farmer to us is not a client, but a partner, a long-term partner. So that's what we've seen. The frustration from the farmer is accessibility to new technology, accessibility and availability in stores close to them, and then that last mile that our guys walk with them has been lacking in this market.
Now let's go. You mentioned Omnia, and we've seen Omnia, and some farmers have been asking me so much about Omnia. What is Omnia?
Yeah, thanks. Omnia, for me, in what I do with Omnia, is around soil health, plant nutrition. I mean, the whole of Omnia is focused on a concept called nutriology, which is it's actually an approach, and it's the way Omnia walks, the way it talks around plant and crop nutrition. So that nutriology concept is very, very strong, and that's practiced all over the world for Omnia. What that means for me and the business that I run is really around the soil health and the nutrient use efficiency and making those plants healthier and stronger so they yield better for the farmer. But it really starts with that whole, as Rhino touched on, technical advice, feed on the farm, a holistic approach to agriculture, not just pushing a product, but from a soil test all the way through. Yeah, our farmers are partners.
So extension services is no longer there. It's there, I think, in the records, but it's no longer there. And we have seen that Omnia has some agents on the ground. And what I wanted to find out is that to what extent are you investing in farmer education versus penetrating into the market? How much are you coming in to help solve the gap of extension services?
So, yeah, we're trying to put our best effort into training our staff, first of all, so that they know exactly the message that we need to bring across. And then also we've invested in some farmers' days, as you might know, which we had in Kajiado, and we also even went up to Eldoret. And we also looking at our the middle guy being the regional distributor as also a partner, and they must understand the technology we use, and if they grasp that and the farmer gets that, then the product sells itself, because the farmers we've had very good testimonials. So yeah, we're putting a lot of effort into getting to the rural areas, and also by supporting them in doing the correct pack sizes, because that's also contentious issue for the farmer. They don't need a 5 or a 20 liter, but they want a 1 liter, and we've packed down as small as to 10 milliliters. So we really try to cater for the farmer's needs.
Okay. So there's, I remember when I started farming 15 years ago, there was this hype of, for you to make more money, you have to farm in larger spaces. But because of what we have seen, especially in Nairobi Metropolitan, where these are farmers, we are seeing there's a lot of construction going on now, the very little farmland. What would you advise farmers who believe that they need to farm in 5 acres and 10 acres? I mean, just to add on the point that you say that you've actually even repackaged some of the products. I think we had this discussion earlier in terms of packaging it for the really smallholder farmers. What would you advise farmers in terms of that?
I would say, listen, we all need to get more bang for our buck, right? So we need to get more yield out of a smaller piece of land, and then your soil becomes even more critical, and the state of your soil, the microbes and the activity in the soil health becomes more relevant. And I would, without being biased, I would say that given the omniary nutriology concept James spoke about, to look at it holistically and start with your soil and fix that first.
So a farmer who is doing 1 acre versus 5 acres, which kind of advice would you give to each of them?
Yeah, it's a good question, but I think Rhino, he's talking the right thing. It's about that soil as an asset. If that soil, I mean, I still think the greatest asset to any farmer is his mind or her mind. And then it's your soil, because everything starts there. So it doesn't, if 1 acre, 5 acres, 5,000 acres, you're still great. It's just a scalable thing. So I just think, treat that soil as an asset. It starts with a soil test. It starts with knowing what that soil's in that soil, what it's lacking. As you say, it comes back to don't just give it medicine, give it vitamins.
Okay.
So it's always healthy. So I think,
So now I want us to get into, I think, what brought us today here. There's this discussion that has been going on for the longest time that I've been farming about humic acid, and I know Omnia prides itself in humates. First of all, what are humates?
Yeah, sure. So humates in its purest form, it's a soil conditioner.
Okay.
It's a biostimulant soil conditioner. So it's a natural derived organic acid, and its properties really focus on nutrient use efficiency and water use efficiency. Okay. So yeah, if you really want to just clear it for the audience, it is a soil conditioner under the biostimulant category. Okay.
So now I want to ask it in English.
Yeah.
I want to ask the same question in English.
Yeah, sure.
So we have shampoo that we use to wash our hair, and then I don't have hair. And then we have the conditioner.
Yeah.
That they say most of the time ladies say that it helps conditions. So is that the same with what humates are? And is humates manure?
No.
What is the difference?
I think that's a fantastic analogy, Noah. Yeah. Your base elements and your micro elements, that grow the crop.
Yes.
That's your shampoo. Yeah. Your conditioner's like a humate, is a supplement that goes with that. So whatever you put in the soil, whether it's nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, the micronutrients, humic acid helps those become more available to the plant. Okay, so it is like a conditioner.
At what point do you use this? I know we'll go back when we talk about the the growing guides and all that. We'll talk about that as well. But at what point is it important for the soil? Is it before I plant? Is it before I plow? Do I need to plow when I'm using humic?
Yeah, it depends on your agronomist's advice on what sort of crop you're doing. Obviously, it changes on your conditions, but we see great benefits when the humic acid is applied with the base fertilizer, the planter fertilizer, because it reacts with the soil.
So do you? I'm asking this because of the farmers. So do you mix it with the basal fertilizer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So most of the farmers are using the granules fertilizer. Is it the same? So do you mix it? What ratio do you mix, or depending with the crop?
Yeah, it depends on the crop, but the fundamental basis is to mix it with your base fertilizer.
Okay.
Because then you're incorporating with the fertilizer into the soil straight away. Again, it goes from crop to crop. You know, in the horticultural crops with irrigation, you'll often put humic acid into the fertigation tank, and it's put through the drip tape into the soil, and then it goes in, and as you're applying your liquid nutrients. But generally, for the small plot farmer that's putting the granule in, mix it with that granule.
Okay. So so when you're mixing that, so you spread it. You know, I always say farming is very practical. So sometimes I say it's good for us to explain to them and show them how to do it. So do you mix it in the gunia, in the sack of the fertilizer, and then now you let it sip in a bit, or how do you do this?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the product can dry fairly quickly now. So we we'll often do anything from a cement mixer to just a drum and a bucket to mix it in at the right ratio. And there's recommendations for each crop and each amount of fertiliser putting in, what the mixing rate is, so a farmer can get access to that fairly easily, and they just mix it in, and then they can plant.
Okay. So does it matter the fertilizer I use? Because that is also something that is out there. There's a lot of fertilizer out there. Does it matter, or does it matter which fertilizer I'm using?
That's another good question, because I've always said with good humic acid, it'll never make bad fertilizer good. What it'll do is it'll make good fertilizer. It'll enhance that. But bad fertilizer is bad fertilizer. So it doesn't matter what you do to bad fertilizer. It's like bad medicine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. As you continue to watch us, let us know if you have any questions. If you have, drop them in the comment section. We'll be able to have somebody to be able to comment and give you direction, because we are here to make sure that you, as a smallholder farmer, connect, learn, and continue growing. And we know that Omni and Nutrology say that they are the science of growth, huh?
Yeah.
The science of growing. So now we have two sets of crops and two sets of farmers. We have these large-scale farmers, as you mentioned, you saw them in Eldoret, who they're a bit older. You know, they have tried and tested almost everything. And then we have the the other farmers, the ones in this other side, our area now. We call ourselves smallholder farmers, but we normally say that we grow high-value crops. When I'm planting maize in my other area, in where my dad comes from, is that maize takes 8 months. And this other area, maize takes 3 months. How can you advise such a farmer? Do I need to keep on repeating the same application constantly, or does it remain in the soil? You know, it sounds like a very basic question, but it's something that farmers are challenging, because when you visit farmers, they say, I put fertilizer the last season.
Yeah.
Yes.
Look, it's hard to comment from me, as every soil test will tell you different things. That's why we're big believers in you soil test every year, just to see what's in your soil and what's available and what's not. In Australia, we'll always apply every year. Even in those drought years, there's often a lot of fertiliser left, but again, your basic soil testing will always tell you what's in there and what you're starting with. So my advice on that is always get a test, just to make sure you know and you can see, and then you can make a decision based on information.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the cost of fertilizer has tripled in some areas, and even getting that fertilizer is not there anymore. But even before getting to the fertilizer question, we have a big challenge in Africa, considering that there's this war out there. I know we're not getting into politics, but just what comes to your mind when you see that we have very healthy soils, but we have to wait for wheat coming all the way from Ukraine?
Yeah, I think that's a very tough question. Thanks for throwing it to me. And as you say, we're not going to go into politics, but yes. I really sincerely believe that the potential in the African soil is of such that if you compare hectare for hectare with the likes of South Africa, who's very much commercialized, there's the yield potential in Kenya. There's still a long way to go. when it comes to the smallholder farmer. What do I mean by saying that? I just think that by implementing more technologies like this, you can get more and a better yield using the same nutrients year on year, and that will address the issue of importing wheat and having enough wheat and maize in our own beautiful country to sustain ourselves. And one day, who knows, we can export ourselves. Don't know if that day will come, but at least we can be self-sufficient.
Very interesting. I will just say it because it happened yesterday. There was a manifesto that was launched yesterday, but there was a very clear disconnect between what we need to do versus what is being done. And just to add on what you said, what is this particular thing that you as Omnia, I would like, just as much as even if we sound repetitive, what are you doing now to help farmers, to shield farmers from the cost of fertilizer? And why I'm asking that is because there might be questions that will ask, so if I use Omnia products, am I going to use less fertilizer?
Yeah, I think the dream is to get to a stage where there's enough science and R&D that we do get to that stage. Because as a fertilizer company, if you are recommending and giving that holistic approach, and you get to a stage where you have science saying we have certain products like a humic acid that's well classed that improves the nutrient use of that fertilizer, you may be able to reduce your rate. And that's where we want to get to. And for a fertilizer company to say that, you know, most people say, oh no, you're the opposite. You want to sell more and more fertilizer. We actually want to sell what's best for the farmer, because a long-term farmer, whether a small plot, medium, commercial, is a long-term partner, a long-term client. So there's no interest in us just to flog as much as we can when we can. It's about helping make the right decisions. So as fertilizer prices go up, and we can develop products like the humic acid and the humic acid blends, like 30 coat, where even if they hold their fertilizer rate, but they're getting more use of it. So rather than losing, because it's so expensive, every time you lose a bit of that nutrient, you're losing dollars. So if these products are helping lock them in the soil and let the plant use it, you're actually getting more efficient use of it.
Very interesting. So in essence, what you're saying that what you're trying to do as Omnia, just using the products that you're actually developing, is just to help farmers, just the same analogy of a human body, to be more stronger. You will still continue eating the same diet, but you become stronger, so that now you spend less money on medicine. So
I agree. No, I think if you look at it, it's investing in the best vitamins and minerals into your body to make it a stronger body, so you get less sick.
So you'll still eat more. You'll still eat not more. You'll still continue eating the same quantity of food that you're eating. But you are not. Chances are you are going to hospital less time.
Correct.
Okay, interesting. So we have different soils. We have red soil. We have black cotton soil. We have some loamy sandy soil. I'm going back to biology, to agriculture. We have this thinking. I think Rhino will answer that. We have this thinking that black cotton soil is not good. Red soil is better, and you find that farmers even sometimes they want to transport red soil from wherever they are to put on top of the black cotton soil. What did you advise farmers?
Yeah, that's another very good question. I think, in my opinion, I've seen farmers, and you might know who I'm talking about, who goes the route of zero tillage or sort of controlled tillage, and I think. You're on a dangerous path if you think that you can transport soil halfway across the country. All the carbon has been lost already, and the soil microbes has been exposed to light and UV as well. So I think each farmer has to do what he can with his soil, but there's other potential in black cotton soils like water retention.
Actually, they're testing some of the products, so I think we'll be sharing some feedback about it. You've talked about tillage. So we have this thing going around about sustainable agriculture, climate smart agriculture. We are seeing a lot of, I like to call it hype, because when people put money as a way of influencing farmers, it's normally like a hype. What do you think about tillage, zero tillage? You've talked about controlled tillage. Does it have an effect whether I till my land or not?
I think James might need to come in on this one, but yes, I do, and I think as a guy in environmental sciences and agronomy, James might maybe add on to that.
Look, I think again, there's an old saying, horses for courses. I mean, some land you do need to till, and that could be from a soil amelioration point of view, where you want to bring clay up in those sandy loams, where you want to unlock some of that hard pan, you want to bring salt up so you can flush it. I mean, there's always good agronomic advice around treating certain soils. I think from a carbon footprint perspective, there is a push globally to go to minimum, what we call minimum till. So you're disrupting soil less, you're not breaking up the biology and the structure of the soil as much, and it's one pass rather than a tractor goes and ploughs and it goes back and ploughs again, then you seed, whereas a seeder, with minimum till just goes straight in. But again, it's got to be what's right for that soil. Like black cotton soils probably are not going to benefit from a minimum till, because they may need to be broken up. So I think it's more agronomically, you need to treat that soil as best you can from the advice of that soil type. So I would never recommend the whole world should go no-till, because there's some soil that doesn't suit that. What we need to be smarter is the tractors and the carbon emissions pulling these ploughs and tillage machines, how do we get better with that?
Very interesting, because why I'm asking that is because there's a farmer who asked me that, no, you talk about soil health and all that, zero tillage, and we're importing a lot of wheat from Ukraine, and then he sent me a clip of farmers in Ukraine using tractors.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
There's a big disconnect with that.
Yeah.
So now I would like us to talk about something that you have on the website, which I think is something that is really brilliant. That is the growing guides. Why did you guys come up with those growing guides? How do they help? How can we be able to push this information? Because not all farmers can watch this show at the same time and all that. How can we be able to make sure that this goes out? I know that one is an offline question, but we can just probably also discuss here. Why did you come up with the growing guides?
Yeah, I think it was just a way of giving some basic information to people that either have got their own agronomist, but just looking for either a second opinion or just to form a base, get some base information about that crop. And what we found by doing it crop by crop gave those farmers the relevance. So if I'm a wheat farmer, I'm not really interested in what maybe an almond farmer's doing or a macadamia farmer or avocado. So we tried to just make sure it was relevant for our audience. And it's not, it's a base. It's a base for a conversation, we thought, to start saying, look, this is what you can do. And then we found a lot of farmers enjoyed it because they read it and said, oh, look, I'm not doing that, I'm doing something differently, but I might try that myself. And then it starts a phone conversation with us around how it went. So yeah, we just found it as a way of, as you talk about helping farmers rather than just smashing product out, this was a way of actually giving some information back. Because a lot of the products in our crop guides not necessarily are our products. So that's why we're talking holistically.
All right, interesting. I remember I always remember this because it was very painful. I bought a growing guide at $25. It was how to make $4,000 in 4 months growing watermelon. And this guy gave me the planting guide. In fact, he sent it on email. And half the products are not available in Africa. And that has been a very big challenge if you have actually been following Africa Farmers Club. We do not allow people to use to sell these farming guides because it's just something that people go, put some things and go out there. How can we be able to make sure that, I think I'm throwing this to you on behalf of Rhino, are we able to have that information translated into probably Kiswahili local language that farmers can be able to have some of this information, or even just have it with the agents probably to be able to have that, because most of the farmers might understand English, but they might understand better in Swahili probably. I just a request. You don't have to answer it now if you want. Yes.
That's an absolutely fantastic question. No, absolutely. So we've actually done some work with our Brazilian business where it's been a lot of that agronomic guides, and I'll call them guides. Exactly what you said before. I just want to make sure people understand. We will never go and say you can make $4,000 in 4 months. What we like to give the farmer is a guide. Give him a base to look at, or her a base to look at, and say, to grow this crop, generally we recommend this nutrient input, okay? Just as a base. But no, we've translated into Portuguese, we've translated into some Indonesian, and so I can't see why we couldn't do that. Absolutely.
Fantastic. Yes, because again, as I mentioned earlier, the challenge that farmers are having is that there's a lot of information, but it's not. It might be accurate, but it's not from reliable sources. So you find that for me to buy this water, unless I'm buying it from this company, that's when I get, because which is in business, we totally understand, but in terms of the extension services, something extra. And I've seen one of the agents, I do not want to sound biased, but one of the agents called Sami has done an amazing thing, and farmers keep on asking, can you send me that guy's number? Because it's about looking at the information as well, and getting to understand what is the problem that someone is facing. When you just walk to a hospital and you're given medicine, you start doubting. So now let us now understand something. What 5 years, 10 years from now, Omnia East Africa, what is the vision? How will farmers feel the difference?
I might give you that one, Rhino.
Yeah, so that's a good question, and something we talk and discuss often in strategy sessions. And I guess we need to go by, you can't always go by the playbook. Where we want to be in 3 to 5 years' time as Omnia is being seen as a valuable partner who offers sound technical advice irrespective of our products, but to see the farmer as a partner, and just to be there for them and to support them fully, be it technical advice or through supply chain. That's where we want to be with the farmer, and the farmer must have that sense of trust. That's very important. They know we will give them the right advice at the right time.
Okay, interesting. That's a very interesting. I was waiting to hear we will have managed to get X number of profits, but that's a very interesting way of going around it. So now, James, you have visited Kenya. This is your first time?
Yes.
Okay. What advice do you have for farmers? I am sure you will visit some farms as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So I want to give you that camera, not to go with, but to just talk to some of the farmers there.
Yeah, sure.
What do you think they should be able to do so that in the next few years we can export our wheat?
Yeah, it's fantastic. Look, I think for me it comes back to, and I've said it a few times now, your number one asset is your brain. So as any farmer, whether it's in Kenya, Australia, the USA or Brazil, that ability to understand and know what you're growing and how you grow it is number one. So that's why my advice is always keep learning, always ask questions. That's why Omni is here, is to be that technical advice. Then becomes your soil asset. So if you know what you've looked after your brain asset, then it start right at the soil. That's your asset. That's what's going to grow your crop with the right nutrition. So you soil test and keep that. If you see your soil as an asset and yourself as an asset, then I think you can achieve great things. It's not just about flogging the cheapest thing, the fastest thing, the thing that looks the shiniest and the best. It's that long term, and that's why it's great to say 3 to 5 years. In 5 years' time, that your 1 tonne is going to become 2 tonne, your 2 tonne has become 4 tonne, your soil health is in better condition than it was 5 years ago. Your next generation of family are farming on that plot because you've looked after it. To me, that's what success looks like. So my advice is look after yourself. You're the best asset, and then look after your soil.
Fantastic. So we have a few questions. I have some comments on the social media. What we will do is that we'll take a very short break, and during the break, kindly let us watch a video about what K-Humates are. I know you'll be able to have some more questions about it, and then when we come back, as we close the show, we'll just go through some of the questions that have come through. Yes. So this is a Farmers Breakfast Show right here from County 034. We're taking a short break. Don't go away. Watch this video about K-Humates.
melon is a trailing vine in the gourd family. The word melon can refer to either the plant or specifically to the fruit. Watermelon is a type of melon that is sweet and refreshing fruit. Watermelons can either be grown on home gardens for small-scale farmers or large-scale depending on the market demand. You can either transplant or plant watermelon seeds directly. For best performance, plant watermelons in hot, sunny locations with loose, fertile, well-drained soil that is rich in organic matter. It is best to plant watermelons on raised rows and ensure that the soil pH is between 6.0 to 6.8. On average, it takes around 3 months for a watermelon to grow from seed to mature fruit, with smaller varieties having shorter growing times than larger varieties of watermelon. Watermelon growing, if done rationally and on a scalable basis, can be a good source of income.
Welcome back to a Farmer's Breakfast Show right here from County 034. Here we help you connect, learn and grow, and one of the things that we do is that we want to make sure that you as a farmer is understanding that post testing your soil, what next? What do you need to do? How do you need to understand and be able to correct your soil? You can feed your crops, but you also need to make sure that you're actually correcting your soil so that whatever you're feeding your crops on then can be valuable to your crops as well. And I'm joined by James Fremantle. Did I get it right?
Yes. Well done. Absolutely.
and Rainer from Omnia Nutriology. And there's something that you mentioned about what Omnia does in terms of nutriology. I wanted just to find out nutriology, why?
Yeah, I think nutriology, and this is the work of some fantastic people, before me that have allowed this, and there's some fantastic guys in Omnia that are really pushing this. And I think the key thing about nutriology is around it's an approach, not a concept. Because a concept almost implies you want to do it, an approach is you are doing it. And I believe Omnia is living that nutriology. And that really, there's lots of translations of what the word may mean, but to me it's the science, it's the knowledge of nutrients, and then taking that and growing education, extension work, and really living a whole holistic approach to agriculture. So I think that's why Omnia adopted it, because Omnia, with Omnia meaning sort of everywhere, and being involved in everything in agriculture, we wanted to make sure that we were seen as a full approach rather than just selling fertiliser.
Very interesting. So we have some questions, and for those who are following, what saving do farmers make in using their products, or is it just an added cost? It's been asked by Christopher Kavundi.
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's always the first question asked. There's two parts of that question. One, if you apply a nutrient to a soil, depending on what that soil is doing, but say most soils, we're going to have some sort of deficiency. That nutrient, which is very expensive, so that nitrogen or phosphorus in this world market is very expensive at the moment. Therefore, what are you losing of that nutrient? What is the plant not using that just sits in the soil, gets leached out into the groundwater, or goes into the atmosphere? So if you look at it that way, if you can put something on like a humic acid or a Ferticoat, which is a blend of humics and kelps and that sort of thing, and you can reduce the loss of that nutrient, it may be an added cost, and it's only a small cost as a percentage against the fertiliser. But it's a good question, and I'm not going to hide behind the saying, yes, there is a small cost for putting this product in, but the saving from not losing that expensive nutrient out of your soil and the plant taking it up, it means that plant has a better chance of yielding better, therefore you can make some more money. Second part is we would like to get to a stage where there is enough science and we feel like that the science justifies perhaps you don't have to keep putting a high rate on, and in seasons where it might be limiting, you can reduce your rate and not lose any yield, and that's where we want to get to.
Very interesting, very interesting. So, Christopher, you've had, then there's another question here that someone says, good, this is Onesmus Mongari, one of our agronomists as well, and then there's another one who wants an email of the product portfolio. But just, instead of sending an email, Christopher, after this, not now, after this, go to the Omnia East Africa social media page and check. We'll be able to have some of this information out there. But just as a way of mentioning some of the products available in the Kenyan market, what are these products that are available? What are they doing? You know, I am also a user of the products. I don't know if I'll get a present. Yes, I did that for my maize and they're coming out very interesting. So what are these products available in the market, and then where can they get the products, and which telephone number? I know apart from social media, there's always a phone number that we can use. So we can start with what are the products available in the Kenyan market?
Yes, so that's good to elaborate on what is currently in the market, and also I would like to share a little bit of a glimpse of what's to come. So today we're talking soil health. So our two soil products is K-Humate, which we have in granular form, as well as liquid. And then we have a product called Rhizovator, as you can see there. It contains some traces of K-Humate, fulvic acid and kelp, a little bit of nitrogen amino acids. What that helps is it helps to feed those soil microbes, whereas the K-Humate helps with retaining nutrients and making sure that it's available. But beyond that, we have products like Seed Boost, which is a very small input cost for a greater return, and making sure that the seed germinates. It's not a seed coating; it's more of a seed primer. So we have that in the market. And
allow me to cut short. I'd just like you to explain to the viewers how you explain to me about what Seed Boost does, because we have so many seed dressers and all those things. There's something you explain that when it germinates, I hope I passed this exam, when it germinates then it can start feeding. Just something close to that.
Yeah, it's the Seed Boost is a micronutrient product. It has some special properties in there as well, part of our IP, but it has some fulvic acids and some kelps as well, to make sure that when the seed germinates, then the nutrients are there already. For it to that early stage, the first week or 14 days of especially maize is critical to make sure the plant gets up as it should. So yeah, it has a broad spectrum of NPK and then micronutrients and a lot of stuff like zinc, which is critical in that stage as well. So yeah.
And the other products?
The other products we have is we have a full suite of trace elements, which is straight iron, copper, zinc, manganese, and so forth. Also packed down into user-friendly package sizes. Then we have I would call this our flagship product in terms of foliar applications is Mega Kelpie. It's also got a broad range of NPK. It's a high phosphorus product though, with micronutrients and kelp. So what makes that product quite unique is I have seen with my own eyes farmers wanting to plough out crops and applying Mega Kelpie as a stress relieving foliar turns that crop around. So that's the main products. Then we have some products like Folikel, which is not a pure, but it's a high concentrated calcium product.
Okay. Very interesting.
Can I interject?
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
Also, what's coming is we have water-soluble NPKs coming to the market soon.
Okay, interesting. My producer says that there's some of the products which they'll be putting on screen as we discuss this. Yes, you can just put it on. So there are three basic things that farmers have always been being told about: nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. But what I'm hearing is that there's so much more. So there's in Kenya we have the ugali, we have chapati. I don't know if you've tested this, and then and then the normal vegetables. But from what you said is that we also talk about the vitamins, about the supplements. Remember during the heightened when COVID hit, we were being told about oranges and things like that. So it was not about what you're eating; it's about what else you're adding on. So Rhizoveta has been a very interesting product, and I have very good feedback. One of the farmers who have used it, they've said that they didn't realize that tomatoes can be able to have more roots than how it was. And at what stage do you use Rhizoveta? Is it beginning or not? Basically what we're trying to do is that, as we said, there's a lot of information. But you'll find that probably farmers will say, this is a very good product, let's rush and buy this, but they might not be able to understand when, what stage. And with your permission, probably you can be able to start sharing the planting, the growing guides out to the farmers as well, yeah?
Yeah.
Yes. Any last words?
No, it's been fantastic, and I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you and your audience. No, for me, it's just I'd like to see Omnia Kenya to be that. I'll call it a partner of choice. I want it to be seen as not by a fly-by-nighter. We're here to, and excuse my Aussie accent, but flog lots of products and then do a runner. Mm-hmm. We're investing in here. We've got Rhino, we've got Doris. We want to put on more people. Mm-hmm. We want to really just, I think, add value to the market and really open up the whole of East Africa. But I think the key starts with we want to share knowledge and empower people, and that's our mission.
Yes.
For me, I want to thank you for the opportunity, and also, as James alluded to earlier, the farmer's mind and brain is their biggest asset. And I think we as a company, we're also cognizant of the fact that we do not always understand all the conditions, and we want to learn more. So we, myself, are coming to the farmers humbly as well. Because every day I learn something from them. It's not only a one-way interaction. We want that to be a two-way line of communication.
Yes.
We want to give some advice to the farmers, but we're also open to receiving and learning more about their challenges, and that will help us solve their problems more efficiently.
Yes. Thank you very much for actually thinking about smallholders farmers in Africa and what they should be able to develop and how they can be able to continue improving their yields, because it as a farmer it's actually agribusiness, and the more you get from your farm, the better. We have a saying, though it has been politicized a bit, they say money in the pocket, we say pesa mfukoni, and that is the overall for what farmers are doing. Yes. So thank you very much for sparing some time and coming here. We know at least now we have the advantage of the expressway. Thank you very much for those who've joined us and for the discussion that we've been having. We know you have a lot of questions. Keep on watching this, but remember that now we want you also to migrate and get information from the sources, the horse's mouth themselves. So make sure that after this, go to Facebook, social media page, Omnia East Africa. Like the page, follow the page, be able to share. We'll be sharing a lot of information about there. You'll find this video there as well, and also if you have any questions, you can be able to ask there. We have a last video that we'll be showing, but that will be after we end this. Just make sure that you understand, first of all, that money is in the soil. And if money is in the soil, it means that you have to correct your soil, you have to test your soil first, get to understand what your soil has before getting to know what you're going to put. If you already have a crop, I know some of the questions are, I already have a crop, can I test my soil? Yes, you can. Make sure that, so that you start treating that soil even before you put in the next crop. You've had the question about tillage, whether you need to use a tractor or not. It depends with your soil structure. It also depends, and you can actually give us on the page, Omnia East Africa, send us an image of your soil test result. We'll be able to advise you, so that at the end of the day, we have money in the pocket, pesa mfukoni. Thank you for having watched. This is a Farmer's Breakfast Show right here, where we help you connect, learn, and grow.
I'm James Fremantle, Managing Director, Omnia Australia. The thing that makes me proud about working for Omnia is the fact that we offer a full service. It is very much based around soil science and crop nutrition. So basically from where everything starts in the soil, we're working very hard to deliver innovation around soil testing, products that work in the soil, and then we're taking that further and making sure that once the crop is up and out, we're giving it every opportunity to perform, and we're tailoring products and our services to make sure we're following that strategic plan. We've had a long history of providing solutions to agricultural businesses from our roots from South Africa 65 years ago to now Omnia Australia, which, as I say, 20 years of offering products and service in the Australian market. So Omnia offers a full suite of crop nutrition products. The feature products for us is the humic acid based products. The reason that is the plant is located next to a very rich raw material source of weathered brown coal or leonardite. That's the reason why the business is set up down in Morwell, and from there that product we send across Australia and into international markets. We're exporting now into 30 countries. That's one of our rapidly growing areas, is the export market. We've broadened our range now to give a whole offering in crop nutrition, so that includes trace element foliars, other biostimulants, fulvic acids, amino acids. We also do fertiliser coatings, all based around that biostimulant story, and we also offer a full range of soil applied fertilisers as well. We've got a very wide reach, broadacre and horticulture. Started off with 3 staff 20 years ago. Now we've got to 30 staff. Most of our staff work out of the plant in Morwell, and then we have 12 staff stationed around Australia looking after the Australian market.
All you need to do is take a leaf composite of a minimum.
So we have a very much a feet on the farm proposition. So we want our agronomists on farm, working with farmers and our distributors, educating them in our products, making sure they understand what services we do and how those services affect their production, and then basically bringing the best possible scenario for their production systems. I think we've evolved to a stage now that with this whole offering, we can be a complete service and product company. A lot of our competitors are very good in one area or the other. We've worked hard to combine a lot of our offerings to make sure it's a complete package to farmers and agribusinesses. Farmers are extremely smart operators. They've got information at their fingertips now with technology. They expect good, quick answers to their questions. They want to use technology, and they want the best products on the market to give them the best possible yield potential for their crops. So I think the feedback has been very good. Farmers want more and more, and we're working harder to give them more.